All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we will be taking a look at MVIS, SOUNDHOUND, and AQST on this video. And I really want to start with saying I am so grateful for the two-way street of info here, right? Like, I'm looking at these colorful lines, giving you guys a story, giving you girls a story. And if you disagree, if you know something I don't, if you have fundamental thoughts, if you have different indicator thoughts, like I love that everyone feels really comfortable sharing their thoughts. No one's going to attack you. We're all going to have educated conversations, right? And the real big reason I'm stressing that is, look, I used to only look at the NASDAQ when I talked about this. There was a comment that said, look, I'm not looking at the Russell enough. The Russell 2000, all right? I can only look at the ETF on this system, but this is going down while NASDAQ's going up. And instead of being confused as I look at MVIS, I really think the Russell might be filling in some blanks that I would have had otherwise. So again, never hesitate to disagree, never hesitate to throw anything else out, because I say it a bunch of times, there are way better people watching my videos than me, and it's definitely a two-way street here, all right? SOUNDHOUND, man, SOUNDHOUND has fallen below the lines, and it's a scary thing when that happens, you know. And again, I think the Russell might be something that explains that. And then AQST, look, it did a really good job, but it kind of did a little parabolic move, and I'm not exactly sure where it ended come Friday, so a little bit of a fresh view on that. But I remember it did well, at least for a few days after my initial video. So before we go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please subscribe to this channel, share this video online with your friends, comment good or bad. Look, anything you can do helps me so much with these YouTube algorithms, especially if you can share the video, because my social isn't that big, but a lot of you are like way bigger than mine, which is crazy cool actually. But let's get into MVIS, all right? And you know, a lot of the times when I'm talking about a stock, I'm looking at the auxiliaries around it, all right? And at the very minimum, if I know I've got a tech stock, this is technology, says science and tech, like this is pretty heavy in tech, right? I generally look at the NASDAQ. Do this, see this, do that. That's like my immediate thing, right? And man, look, I'm not seeing a fantastic NASDAQ, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, right? But at the minimum, when I see this on the NASDAQ and then down on MVIS, I would be sitting here and being like, what's going on, right? I loved the fact that someone introduced the Russell. I never really looked at the Russell 2000 much. Whenever I talk about the indices, any index, I'm talking about the big 3. I'm talking about NASDAQ, S&P 500, and Dow Jones. The Russell, I don't know if it's number 4, and I'm not here to talk about the Russell much itself, but I know the Russell is important. I can see the Russell is in a downtrend. It's actually been in a downtrend the entire year, let alone the end of December, right? You can say that this was the last tax day and stuff, but hey, even from there coming down, right? So Russell hasn't been doing well. Russell hasn't been doing well, especially on come Friday, let alone most of the week, right? I think that speaks, that speaks a little bit more to MVIS is not doing well this week, and in a lot of ways, pretty much going downhill that same time as the Russell, right? So I think the Russell is a really nice extra view that I know I didn't have before, okay? I want to go back to the NASDAQ really quickly, all right? Oops, that's just comp. What does comp look like? Not that good. Every now and then I accidentally look at comp instead of comp X, and yeah, Compass sometimes, man, rides the lines well. But yeah, no, I'm looking for NASDAQ composite, okay? So few things are jumping out. Number one, I'm never pretend to be the best at resistance lines, all right? But relatively speaking, it should be easier on a major indice than any individual stock because there's so much history, right? So knock on wood, I like to say that this was a pretty good line, and I think the oscillation speaks to that. regardless of this line, we're basically battling the 8 and the 20, right? We bounce like a champion. We use the 20 beautifully. We keep bouncing, and then right here, not as beautifully as right there, right? So there's some moving average stuff. There's some resistance lines, and more than anything, that's a big candle that took 2 lines. That's not a beautiful confirmation. That's not a beautiful confirmation. That's a back-to-back doji. This is not a good string of candles in the week. Yeah, I see it going up. That's not I think the NASDAQ's ready to go. So though the NASDAQ looks better than the Russell, and for sure it would have confused me if I didn't see the Russell, I think they both aren't saying beautiful things, all right? So now just coming into MVIS, what's starting to happen? So we were talking about this 100 moving average for a while, and we relatively stopped the last 3 weeks. Instead of coming down with it, we were basically living with the 8 and the 20, working our way up, actually wick the 200 moving average there. The goal was this 290 line, right? Lo and behold, we've slipped below these two, and we're now sitting at the 50. Look, one thing I talked about was I hope that the 50 crosses over the 100, which it did. That's a golden cross, small over a big. I'm glad that happened. And I hoped that the 50 would start to take control and the 50 would start to hold it instead of falling back into the mercy of the 100, all right? Because, look, the 100 was flat, hard down, is starting to flat. I think it might hard down again soon. And the last thing I want to do is follow the 100 down. I want to follow a line that's still relatively going up, that still needs to flatten before it goes down, right? I need the 50 moving average to control it. I don't like Friday's candle. Why don't I like it? Let's look in the box over there. The low of the day, the fourth line in the box, is 243. The day closes at 243, the green number on the top, right? I don't like it when the low of the day is the close of the, in my head, people were selling and selling and selling and selling to the very last second, just selling and selling, and then the market closed. On top of the fact that we have a long weekend, Monday is not a trading day. Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and Monday makes next week a short week and a long weekend, and man, weekends are scary. Weekends, they just are, you know, but right now, we need the 50 to do the job. Right now, we really, oh, what are you? I just saw this. So I would love, I think it's a little unrealistic, but this is what I need. I would love a close on Tuesday of 249. Roughly speaking, that's about half of that mid-December candle, all right? I would be okay. Oh, man, it's only a penny. Where's 247? I guess I would be okay with 247. I'll be honest with you, though. Like, at that point, I think you're a little too close to, like, 249 is the money line. It is. Obviously, anything more would be great, right? But I really need MVIS to close at 249 instead of dropping to the lower to the 100, right? Because I could see it coming here to 239 otherwise. So my expectation for Tuesday is roughly a 10-cent move. It's either going to go up to 49 or down to 39, all right? There was a question in the comments, and again, I'm a little behind, and I'll get to them after I post this, but someone asked, in the next 6 months, what would I expect the highest volume to be? First off, that was an interesting question. That's not one I've asked, and it was cool. I got to put a little time to it. So this is how I would answer it. Obviously, earnings is going to come out next month, give or take, right? Someone mentioned end of February, maybe early March, right? So in your 6-month window question, you obviously have earnings at least once, maybe even with the timing of it twice, right? Because every 3 months is a quarter, right? So what I would do is I would zoom out, all right? And let's go back. I don't know if it kind of almost doesn't matter now that I look at the volume. So look, it seems like in a given good week, all right, in a given good week, we'll get about 25 million shares, all right? I'm getting a calculator out. It came on the other side. So 25 divided, obviously 25 divided by 5 is 5, right? So maybe on a single day, 7 million would be a really good day for Mavis. 7, because again, I'm looking at the weekly. The weekly average is around 8, right? It looks like it's actually around 15. So a 5-day total, we're expecting about 15. We did about 8 million on the last 5 days, right? So imagine getting half of that on a single day. I think 7 million is a good number. Look, in this 1 week where this monster run went, when most of the Mavis family got to know me, because like I was speechless during like the apex of it, you know, the volume got crazy. And I think that's a little extreme to use. I even think that's a little extreme to use, but I think this could be an interesting number. 44 million. All right. That I'm going to grab a calculator. So 44 divided by 5 is 8 a day. Let's just say one of those is the main one. So like, I think a 7 million to an 11 million shares per day number would make sense to me. All right. I'm curious what you'd love to use with that info. So let me know. But that was me kind of talking it out. And like I said, I just kind of zoomed out, took a good number of months to see what it looked like on the weekly, brought that down to a single day, right? So let's look at the weekly really quickly. I don't know if there's, oh, okay, interesting. Where's this 20 moving average at? That's 235. Where's the daily 100 at? That's 233. There's a very, very important support right there. All right. Again, the last line on the daily, you can see it in the box over there. The blue average 100 is 233. Coming to the weekly, the last line on the weekly, you can see the orange average 20 is 235. It's a 2-cent difference. This Mavis cannot go below 230. If this slips into 229-ish, green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 green. It could be a real fast red, red, red down into the 2s, if not worse. I can see this going from 230 to 2 really quickly, and that's about a 15% move right there, give or take. Be careful. All right, be careful, and I would watch the IWM. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know if you think I missed anything. You know, I guess I'll end it with, hey, maybe we'll oscillate on that 102. Go down, go up, go down, go up. Don't go below 230. I appreciate you all so much. Let's come in to Soundhound. Okay, so listen, this isn't beautiful. All right, that's the first place to start, right? And I've been kind of saying this a little bit more. I know I would get much better views and much higher view counts if I said nothing but good, 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 right? We're definitely at a place where you know my rhyme, right? If you can get above them all, if you can break all 5, you fly. If you lose all 5, you start to die, right? And number 1's up there, all 4 are right there, right? And what used to be a story of oscillating on the 100, above it, below it, above it, below it, above it, below it, we couldn't get back up above it. There were just too many lines to just get back over. And yeah, we've now fallen below it, right? It seems like this 184 was a decent support, right? It looks like there was a nice little horizontal right there, a couple horizontals right there. It was the bottom down here in August. Just zooming out again, it was a nice little important moment in November of 23. Yeah, this was an important support. It actually was. So it makes sense that this 184 line that I had drawn, and again, I'm not here for perfect, right? I'm not saying that this was the best line and maybe it should have been a couple pennies up, a couple pennies lower. We're not here for perfect. Good enough. I'm telling you, good enough makes and saves you a lot. I promise you that. Don't waste your time on perfect, okay? But it makes sense to me that this is an interesting line, okay? The one thing I mentioned on the weed stocks, and I think I'm going to ignore this. This is a little bit of an anomaly. Let's just kind of look here, okay? So one thing to me, and if there's a video right here, I'll mention it at 1440. Sorry, I'm writing a note to myself. There is a golden rules video I made, and volume is number 2. on my golden rules of 5, all right? I know it's the lowest thing on this chart. Volume is king. Volume is queen if you're a girl, right? Like volume is what matters most, all right? What I like, and I think it's important, I like that there was, and my problem is it's not as okay, let me say my thoughts, let me say the counter of it, and then okay. There was a lot more above the 50 moving average action here, all right? It definitely happens on the way up. It definitely happens on the way down, right? I like the fact that this bad moment of lose them all and die isn't like crushing the 50 with something like this. Like that loss down there magnified with volume doing this would have done that. All right, like like right here is a good example. At this don't click there. At this moment right here, it's under 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It quickly dies, right? And even with that, volume wasn't necessarily crushing the 50, right? But it was just it like. Can you imagine what would have happened? I'm telling you, I've seen it. Is if it crushed that line, okay? I like the fact that it's almost intermittent here, and you can kind of argue that it's just starting, so maybe I'm talking a little early, but to me, I'm seeing more action here than dump off here. The one thing I would say, because I just said this freshly on the weed sector, it arguably is more buying than selling on this. I feel like Soundhound is a little more 50-50 here, and I'm not quite end of the day, what I'm ultimately trying to guess, all right, is are more people holding Soundhound? Are more people just buying and selling and flipping it? Or is there just a sheer dump off, right? I try to like put a summation story with volume, and it's a little hard to see. I feel like I see more red than greens. I feel like I see people not holding and accumulating, and that's not something I like. I'm glad the dump off isn't above the 50 going crazy, right? The other thing I want to talk about, I don't know if you watched the MVIS part or not, but I usually only look at NASDAQ when I talk about Soundhound, all right? NASDAQ's relatively been looking good, but it's not fantastic. Like, that's a good candle, yeah, but that didn't confirm. That's not a great candle after this one, again, because that's 2 lines, that's 2 lines, that's relatively nothing. And then doji don't count, right? So despite the up week, I see this being a weak week. No pun intended, I guess pun kind of intended. IWM, the Russell 2000, says a different story. Russell's been flat with not good on top of pretty much down the entire year, let alone the end of December, right? And I think that a little bit better echoes Soundhound. Again, I'm always here saying, I don't think I'm the best. I know there are better traders than me watching my video. I can tell by the comments that some of you go deeper than I do in fundamentals because you know I'm kind of lazy and don't do any of it. You also respect the technicals and you know it. You also know probably better technicals than I do because again, I'm not here pretending to know the best or anything like that, right? I know what I know and I'm knock on wood, I'll write at it, right? But yeah, the Russell, I think, was a really interesting introduction to me. I don't look at the Russell much, but again, you can literally see it from this end of December to down. It's almost identical to the Russell. You know what I mean? So I think it's an interesting thing to watch and maybe connect with Soundhound. You know what I mean? Ultimately, the real question is what do I think is going to happen, right? That's why a lot of you are watching this. And look, I do believe that this 184 line is a lot stronger than this 167 line, right? And again, I talked about it moments ago. This 184 has had a lot of moments between January 2023 and today. You can see it was basically the apex of this run right here, the bottom of this run, the bottom of this run, right? Like, that's an important line. From there, I don't see this 167 being that fantastic. Maybe you can say it's the bottom of that, but I don't know. I think this 167 isn't going to hold that well, and 152 would come down. Or or this 184 can hold, we kind of oscillate here and move, all right? The real thing is this 100 moving average, all right? Now look, okay, we haven't even remotely touched the 100 moving average until November, December, and whatnot. I almost say not January, because January we've basically been under it, right? But this was the first real moment of the 100, okay? And in a lot of ways, you gotta attack a line first before you can break it and go, okay? I'm hoping that we don't go significantly lower. I'm hoping we go back to this 100 moving average oscillation. Hopefully that gives enough time for the Russell to catch itself and go, look, there's a lot of bad under this 152 line. I don't think we should talk about anything below 152 just yet, all right? I think that's a little premature. We've obviously just used that line not that long ago in November for a beautiful bounce. We haven't even used it since November. The last time we touched it, it was actually a good, like, this is probably the last time that line was a resistance. I echo that again, yeah, and here being January, right? So I still think that this 152 is a fresh line. This 152 should be a bounce line. I would like to not come down to it, I think is the echoing part. Damn, I'm already 22 minutes in, dude. Sometimes I go on a roll and I apologize. Weekly's not telling me too much more, but I do see it again, right? We're under all the moving averages. The 100 hasn't formed yet, but this 50 line is getting long enough to where I gotta believe it soon. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the 8th candle, the 8 dot forms. Goes a little bit more on the 20th one. This one goes. And we're talking about weeks, right? 20th week, not day, excuse me. All of a sudden, this is the 50th one. That seems like a pretty long line. I'm obviously not going to count all the candles right now, but I think we're getting close to the 100 forming. Again, what does that ultimately mean to me? Probably another line we're going to be below, right? So just you know, it's just another resistance that'll come to play soon, right? But yeah, let's see what happens with the 100. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. Hopefully we go back up. And you know, I say it's for no reason too. Sometimes you go up and then pull back down for no reason. Sometimes you go back up for no reason too, right? So Soundhound went a little longer than I was planning to. My apologies. But again, disagree with me, agree with me. Let me know your thoughts. I'm telling you, good things happen when people disagree, actually. AQST. Let me just quickly look at this one more time. This has been doing really well. This ended Friday way better than I expected to. Look, I like a stock that is over all 5 moving averages. I like a stock that has a positive MACD, all right? I like a stock that has good volume, and man, AQST has all of that, okay? It actually looks like these two lines are at least still staying parallel, arguably maybe even still diverging. Again, diverging just means two lines going away from each other, and we want the green to go away and up from the red, right? So that's good. This is making me think it wants to go more positive, all right? We just had an RSI at 82. We just had an RSI at 79. We literally just had an RSI 4 days ago. Yeah, 4 days ago at 88. The RSI is getting more comfortable at staying up. The RSI is seemingly staying in this high 80 range. All right, like, you know, I don't like an RSI that's in the 80s or higher, but again, we have a number of indicators here, and this is just one of many, right? So I've got two lines right here, this 257 and this 287. We're basically right in the middle of both, right? Break 287 and this thing should fly, all right? We've seen it where this thing can get some really silly volume out of nowhere too. So a real strong uptrend is definitely forming. There's this right here that's also starting to get steeper as well. I mean, there's a lot to like on AQST, all right? And I know it looks like it's already delivered a lot, right? Going from 2 to 260, that's a 30% move already, right? It looks like there's more. It looks like it wants to at least test this 287. Will it break the 287? I don't know. Again, the RSI is a little higher for my comfort. And as I'm looking at the MACD doesn't really know how to go crazy positive. okay? That said, I think we test it. I think we start using this 257 as a, because look, this 257 has been a resistance. Resisted here, resisted here, resisted here, resisted here. I think we get over it and we start support, support, break. That's my guess. That's my, let me draw it really. Give me a second. I'm going to pause it. I don't know what happens when I do this. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. It worked as I planned. So look, this one's the 80. This is a screenshot. This is the 87 line. I probably should have made a better screenshot. Let me do this again. Done like this. Okay, so this is 57. This is that 80, whatever, right? I think we're going to go here, then here, then here, then here, then here. That's my guess. Maybe we can even take off on this one, right? Like maybe we don't resist and go. Otherwise, yeah, I think we're going to peak it. I think we're going to support, support, go. That's my best guess of AQST. Look, overall, I'm liking this on the daily. Oh man, I'm liking this on the weekly. This weekly, dude, this weekly still diverging the RSI, still diverging the MACD. Weekly was high 80s for 90s and high 80s for weeks. Good resistance, good resistance, good resistance. Finally breaks. I think this wants to actually maybe even touch, I think this wants to kiss 317. I think this wants to kiss the 200 moving average. This might go a little bit higher than I'm expecting on that 287 line. And that's kind of what I even drew, right? But nonetheless, I like AQST. I still like AQST. And I'm telling you, this is looking like this stock knows how to bounce on the 8. It just did it right here. Couldn't get over the resistance. It's doing it again, trying to get over the resistance. That was nice volume picking up. This is even better volume picking up. AQST. I like on the weekly. I like. You get what I'm saying, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know if there's news on this one that I should probably know. Otherwise, hey, I appreciate you so much.